right, folks, you heard us talk about AI and the impact of AI when it comes to technology. Well, in Vallejo, California, they were using AI to deal with the whole issue of police misconduct. So they were using AI, searching through various body camera footage. Guess what happened? The software firm that was charged with doing this, they actually began to find more instances of police misconduct. And what that did was piss off the police union. So the police chief there has shut down the analysis. I'm sorry, don't you think the police chief would want to root out misconduct? No, that's not what happened. They want to get rid of it. Civil rights attorney Melissa Mold joins us from Vallejo, California. Melissa, glad to have you here. So let's walk through this here. I'm confused. If you're the police chief, don't you want to get rid of police misconduct?
Well, you would think so. But the issue that we had here is it wasn't even actually the police chief at the time. The police chief at the time was trying to do what was right and get the department in order. That he was our first black police chief in Vallejo, California. When he initiated this auditing and got these results, they actually sent him a death threat and ran him off. He resigned. And then the interim chief was the one that canceled this termination. Chief Shawny Williams was the one that received the threatening correspondence in response to trying to audit the department. And as a result, now we have an interim chief who's prepared to allow the department to continue its reign of terror.
So let's be clear here. The black police chief said, hey, let's use AI to study body cam footage. So this was it an outside company that created the algorithm or whatever to study the body camera footage?
Yes, it was the outside company that the chief had contracted with to do this analysis of the officers based on right now the DOJ efforts to help work on police reform prompted that, and then he took it from there.
All right, so they go ahead and do this, and then all of a sudden they do their analysis, and then they start seeing more stuff. What do we know? What type of misconduct they discovered?
No, as I understand it, as soon as they came back with concerning, troubling findings, that's when the efforts to get rid of the chief were underway. They did a vote of no confidence, like I said, the threatening correspondence to Mr. Williams. And then from there, I don't think that they ever got to the point of doing a further analysis to determine the specific kinds of misconduct that were identified, because the police union wanted nothing of it. But, this is a police union that's been running the city of Vallejo for years. There's been, racism, corruption, violence at the hands of this union. So not shocking to us that live here that the union is still preventing any kind of real transparency and accountability.
Was it Vallejo or was it another police department in California that became the first to really begin to use body camera footage? And the reason they did this was to, one, help officers because people were making claims of police misconduct. And again, I can't remember if it was Vallejo or another agency, but whatever the agency was in California, they saw a drop of police abuse allegations filed against them because of body camera footage. The point of the body cameras is to protect the officers, to show what actually happens, but also protect the citizens. Sounds like this union is pissed off that it's showing corrupt cops.
And that seems to be how we feel about it. They've done a lot. There's been a lot of death. There's been a lot of violence. And they've had a stronghold on the city for a long time. So when you finally got somebody that wanted to actually look into the fine details of what was going on to actually make some changes, they didn't want to see it. They didn't want to see anything that would result in them not being able to have the power over the city, the power over the purse strings of the city that they've had for many, many decades.
So this deputy police chief, who is now the interim police chief, Jason Todd, what's his rationale for doing this?
He hasn't provided anything. He was supposed to be in as the interim chief. His decisions so far have been troubling. I just know during the time that Chief Williams was there, we had 3 years with no force, no shootings. I had not received cases. I wasn't getting calls. We were actually starting to see some changes. Deputy Tall was there with Chief Williams as his right-hand man. As soon as Williams was gone, Tall went right back onto the agenda of the police union, which is to push forward, to do whatever they want, to not be held accountable, to not have any sort of disciplinary actions. And so Tall, without giving any explanation, let us know that he's going back to the status quo of Vallejo, which is to do whatever they want and to expect us to all just, tolerate their.
Well, what the hell is the mayor of the city council doing?
Historically, unfortunately, Vallejo, the city council has been sort of prey to the police union as well, because they have a long history of threatening and intimidating people, including city council people. There's a long history of them targeting and harassing advocates. I've received death threats, harassment, surveillance from the command staff of the police department. And so it's wild out here. We call it, Vallejo, Mississippi, because really, for a liberal area, we go back 30, 40, 50 years in policing anytime you come out here. It's sad and really concerning at this point, because we really were making progress in Vallejo. Chief Williams was really doing something here. The community, the impacted families, the people whose loved ones had been hurt and killed, we were all beginning to have some faith that he was actually on the right track. And so to see racial terror being used against the police chief and the community, and having a new chief that seems willing to continue to hold the company line on the violence and racism and terror, it's disturbing. And we're just hoping at this point that the DOJ gets in and takes over the situation before somebody else get killed. They shot a man, an unarmed man, in the face like 2 weeks ago in Vallejo, and we had not had any incidents of police shootings in over 3 years. But now that Chief Taz is in place, we're concerned that others are gonna pass away, because like I said, it's been over 3 years.
So have y'all made that request for the DOJ to come in to examine the police department? Has there been an actual request?
Yeah, so technically they're already here. What happened 3 years ago after there was 2 controversial shootings within a year time? My client, Willie McCoy, was shot 55 times as he slept in his car at a Taco Bell. And a year later, Sean Monterosa got killed. When Sean got killed, the DOJ came in to do what was supposed to be a collaborative review, where the police department, Vallejo Police Department, was supposed to be initiating some reform measures that had been determined that they needed. And so they were supervising that. Now the department has done virtually none of these 45 things that they were supposed to be supervised to be doing. And so the DOJ now is indicating that they're going to potentially come in to put in a federal monitor, to have a consent decree to actually force Vallejo to do the reform that they've been promising and pushing off for years.
Wow, that's absolutely crazy. But again, it goes to show what we talk about when you have these cities that allow these unions to have far too much power and control, and they don't actually care about the citizens, and they are not there to protect and serve the citizens.
Absolutely. I mean, at this point, they're holding the city hostage. When the George Floyd movement happened and people were talking about defunding the police, just like many other cities and states, Vallejo decided to sort of stop policing, to stop policing the community, to try to get back control over the police department, and to try to kind of continue this reign of terror. But as a community, we're not prepared to let that happen. There's been too much loss of life, and there's too many people in the community, too many advocates, too many people that know what's going on around here. But from my viewpoint, and on behalf of my clients, so far there has been no investigation into these officers having admitted to bending their badges in relationship to killing people. And so unless the DOJ comes in to investigate that, I don't think that there's any way to move forward, with the city, or to try to get the police department back under the control of the city.
Absolutely insane what is happening there. Melissa, keep up the good fight, and certainly keep us abreast what happens there in Vallejo, California, because, again, the whole point of body cameras, and I say this all the time, if you are cops and you are doing what's right, you shouldn't have any issues with body cameras.
Exactly. If you're doing what's right, if you're following the rules, if you're following the law, you should have no problem with it. The fight that police have had about that, I mean, administrators, politicians, and command staff wanted body cameras. The people that are doing the work didn't feel like they should just be trusted, unilaterally without view. If this wasn't something that they wanted, but they're not going to get rid of body cameras. We're not going back in time. It's just, unfortunately, Vallejo is just sort of an antique as far as police departments, because of the stronghold that they have. But they're a powerful tool for us, as civil rights attorneys, because we used to have to take the word of the person who shot a dead man while the dead man stayed silent. So now we have the voice of the dead often in the body cameras, and so whatever good we see from it compared to whatever concerns the police have about them. I mean, the community safety outweighs whatever privacy or whatever other concerns the officers might possibly have. Because, like I said, we've had far too many unarmed men, sleeping men, running men, too many Black, brown, and poor people in Vallejo being murdered by Vallejo police. And so we're going to continue to push for all of the technology that's available to watch and ensure that our public servants and our tax dollars are being used to protect us, not to hinder and oppress us.
All right, folks, back to our Roland Mark Unfiltered video in just one moment.
For decades, the tobacco industry has deliberately targeted Black communities and kids with marketing for menthol cigarettes. It's had a devastating impact on Black health. Tobacco use claims 45,000 Black lives every year. It's the #1 cause of preventable death. In the 1950s, less than 10% of Black smokers used menthol cigarettes. Today, it's 85%. Ban menthol cigarettes. Save lives.
When you talk about Blackness and what happens in Black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in Black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.